Hi, my name is Jake Morrill, and if you are watching this, you are somebody who has registered and plans to attend the Prairie Star UUMA Fall Retreat with the theme of Play as a Form of Resistance next week. I will be the facilitator for those programs, and I wanted to give you this video as a way to start encouraging you to think and figure out what you're going to bring in terms of questions and your own preparation and thoughts to our time together. So first, a story. Over 10 years ago, during the financial crisis of 2008, when the stock market crashed and a lot of people were freaking out about their money, our congregation had some stress about the annual giving campaign, the pledge campaign. And the congregation decided to turn all that stress on the minister, me, in letting me know in so many terms that it was my responsibility to bring in a bumper crop of pledges in a year of financial meltdown. Well, with some coaching and some thinking, I figured out what I wanted to do about that situation. I asked an artist in the congregation to make a tall cardboard crown, like a crown of royalty, and cover it with gold glitter, and then with purple glitter, put the word help on it. And so I put this tall crown, gold glitter and purple glitter that said help, and another church member who was very playful came into worship and put a spell on me, saying that I needed to wear this crown, gold and glitter, until every pledge had been turned in. Well, there were some people who were very upset about that because we live in a small town here in Tennessee, and the Unitarians are often very concerned about their reputation in the public square. They didn't want their minister out there looking ridiculous, playing the fool, when they'd worked so hard to keep up their reputation. A few people asked, would I please take it off? And I had to say, I'm sorry, I can only take it off when all the pledges have been turned in. What I figured out about doing then was to use play as a way to de-triangle myself from the corner I'd gotten pinned in by the anxiety in the system. In doing so, I was able to define an I position, a clear way to let people know what role I was going to take. But I was also, as a leader, shifting the context from an anxious either or seized up culture about money, at least in that acute time, to one that showed with a wink that other things were possible, and that we could even have some fun in the midst of that stress. So that's the kind of thing I want to be talking about next week, is both ways that some playfulness can help in effective leadership, and also secondarily, the ways that those are attached to some systems concepts, and all of it in service of play as a form of resistance, play as an expression of justice making in an otherwise anxious and oppressive context. So what you can count on from the workshop next week is that you will leave knowing how to lead 10 playful activities in your ministry setting. You will have a better theoretical understanding of play and play's application to leadership. You will have an awareness of your own play style, your own play personality and history. And you'll also go home with a lovely parting gift of 25 additional play activities that you can use in your ministerial setting. It is my assumption that all of us bring experience and wisdom and expertise in one thing or another to a setting like this. So I don't purport to be the final answer or the be-all end-all expert on the subject. I'm just bringing some of the things that I've observed and figured out, with the eager expectation that I will hear yours and learn from you as well. A little about me. I've been in Oak Ridge, Tennessee since 2003 as lead minister of the congregation here. About 10 years ago, I went back and got a marriage and family therapy degree, which was part of my almost 20-year now study of family systems thinking and theory. I'm on the faculty at the Bowen Center for the Study of the Family, where I do workshops and presentations evangelizing for systems thinking. Though not without some critique, you'll be happy to know. I know some of you all have some critiques of it as well. So as I talk about play, perhaps the main reason I wanted to do this video was to signal my awareness of the problematic nature of play, or the potentially problematic nature. Sometimes when I bring up play, I see a lot of people either physically or within themselves, take or roll about 10 feet back, not interested. And that comes, I think, from the assumption that play looks a certain way, especially in our American culture, that it is a backslapping, out loud, gregarious, extroverted form of expression, which leaves a lot of people out and makes a lot of people, frankly, uncomfortable. What I'd like to propose to you is that, based on research on play, there's a whole range of play expression and play personality, including quietly collecting sea glass, sketching and drawing, moving in one's body in a creative way, so that it need not be the boor at the end of the bar slapping down the bar and telling another hee-haw joke. So we'll look at different ways that play can look. Another kind of resistance that comes up with the topic of play is quite understandable. So play inherently engages ambiguity and complexity with a sense of dynamism, and can be used for liberation and transformation in that spirit. And yet that very same quality of ambiguity and blurred boundaries and border crossing can also be exploited by people who are out to gain advantage or even to create harm. So we are probably all familiar with the famous bully's line, what's the matter, can't take a joke, or I was only kidding, as a way to gaslight or to minimize harm that's been done. So the thought that play would evoke some of that is worry, concern, or fear is understandable. And we'll talk about that next week in the workshop, because it's so important that we have a clear sense of ethics and the role of power when it comes to play. So I wanted just to let you know that that's part of the mix too. And, a couple of thoughts on that. First of all, if a key ethic of play is consent, the voluntary nature. When play becomes coercive or there's any form of exploitation, it's no longer play. It may be something else. Somebody may say it's play, but it's no longer play, because across the board, people who study play say it's voluntary, free will. You can lean in, you can lean out. Free, active, ongoing consent is an ethic. So that's one thought about play. But the second is that, as it can be used for exploitation, it also has been used historically and systematically as a strategy of liberation. Henry Louis Gates talked about the tradition in African-American rhetorical approaches of signifying, to have double entendres in language in the face of the oppressor, while also winking to one's comrades and siblings. There's a form of activism called laughtivism, which is a fluid form of nonviolent resistance. So there are strategies that deploy play and humor toward liberation. And we'll talk about some of that next week as well. I wanted just to lay all this out as sort of a broad stroke, so that you could be invited to start thinking and doing your own preparation, knowing that you are able to and encouraged to opt in and opt out as you feel comfortable and as you feel ready. What I know is that you have been working very hard for a very long time, even before the pandemic, but especially in the pandemic. You have been showing up in ways that serve our faith and that serve our mission, and that perhaps have left you exhausted and depleted here at the beginning of October. So I want to say that this is not a time where I intend to bring any stress or any over challenge. If what's right for you is to take a nap during the workshops, that's fine, or to figure out what you will and won't do in the course of the workshops, that's also fine. So I will be working to create and sustain an environment with you that allows people to choose to do what they need, and for each of us to support one another in a safe environment. I just wanted to say all of that. If you have any questions or thoughts or concerns, please email me at revjakebmorrill, M-O-R-R-I-L-L, @gmail.com before the workshop starts on Monday evening. And I'd love to hear from you and engage in dialogue with you. If I don't hear from you before, I'll look forward to being with you and talking with you Monday through Wednesday of next week. Take care.